And I'm Bruce McCready. I'm the president of the Mount St. Helens Club. And this is our monthly potluck we're at here. And today's show is on a hike we did August 6th, 2022 in the Goat Rocks Wilderness. And the Goat Rocks, located in the Gifford Pinchot and Okanagan Wenatchee National Forest, is 108,023 acres of alpine wonderland located between Mount Rainier and Mount Adams. It's part of the Cascade Mountain Range and the remnants of an ancient volcano extinct for some 2 million years. The elevation of the Goat Rocks ranges from 3,000 feet to the summit peak, Gilbert Peak, at 8,201 feet. There are 120 miles of hiking trails inside the wilderness, including the Pacific Crest Trail, which wanders north and south through the middle of the wilderness. The Pacific Crest Trail passes by 7,930-foot Old Snowy, the highest elevation of the PCT in Washington State. On August 6th, hike leader George Wiest took the club on a 13-mile trek up to Snowgrass Flat Trail and beyond. Okay, and we can start the movie now. And this is some of the characters that put this together. And Dwayne Smith is doing the filming here. Okay, next. And here's a picture of the Goat Rocks from the east side. As you can see, it's quite glaciated with snow at the higher elevations, and quite impressive, actually. Next. And here's a map of how we get to the Goat Rocks. From Longview, you drive north on the I-5 and then head east on Highway 12 to just a mile before Packwood, where you turn off on the Johnson Creek Road, which is a Forest Service main line. And you take that for 13 miles, I believe. It's gravel. It's a long drive, and it's got what we call wash basins the entire way, so it's a slow drive, but it's well worth it. And you finally get to a place called Chambers Lake, and that's where the trailhead is. Next. And here is one route that some people take. We didn't actually do the entire loop. We did the trail on the right side, the east side, and at the bottom is where the trailhead is, Chambers Lake. And so that's in the middle of the Gifford Pinchot Forest, and it was a beautiful day. Okay, next. And here's another trail map, kind of hard to see, but that's something you can get online. Next. And here's the trail we took, Trail 96. And down at the bottom left is where the trailhead is, the TH. And you hike up it, and it's flat for the first 2 miles. And then you cross Goat Creek, and then it climbs up quite a bit to get up to Snowgrass Flats. And it's hard to imagine what we were hiking on just looking at a map. Next. And here's our group at the YMCA parking lot. There were, I believe, 13 of us that day, 9 members and 4 guests. And as you can see, it was a beautiful day in August. And we met there at 7 o'clock, nice and cool, but we all had our hiking gear on, our shorts and whatnot. Next. And here's the stop in Morton where we take a break. And that's 65 miles from Longview, just off Highway 12. And we go in there for our snacks and to use the facilities. Kind of breaks up the drive. Still a beautiful day, blue sky as you can see. Next. Okay, this is the Johnson Creek Road. not too bad. It's a wide main line, but like I say, it's kind of a rough road. And for whatever reason, people like to drive fast on that road. We almost had someone hit us coming the other way. And this is 13 miles to the trailhead. It's about an hour's drive from just about Packwood. Next. Okay, this is the trailhead, just above Chambers Lake. Still a beautiful day. And it's probably about 9:30 there. And we're getting our gear together and all excited to go on the hike. Next. And here's another shot of us. We're all smiles at this point. We haven't done any hiking yet. And you can see the trees there. They're alpine firs, most of them, and lots of cedars. And the parking lot was had quite a few cars in it, but we managed to find a couple of spots. We probably had 3 or 4 drivers that day. Next. And here's our group once again heading up the trail. This is right at the start of it. Next. And here's the signpost of what we'll be hiking on. And you can see the green scenery, the green lush vegetation there. Next. And here's the hike leader, George Wiest. He's filling out the wilderness permit, and they have us do that. It doesn't cost anything, so they can manage the trail system better to know how many people are using it. But being that this is one of the most popular trails in Washington, there will be a lot of people signing up, I'm sure. Okay, next. And here we are going up the trail. This is right at the start, and you can see it's quite scenic, quite beautiful. Okay, next. Here's where we enter the wilderness. This wasn't very far above the trailhead. We're going into the Goat Rocks Wilderness, and it's quite extensive. There's quite a few different ways to get into the Goat Rocks. This is probably the easiest way, if you don't mind the drive getting there. Next. And here's, I believe that's Pat Reichel at the end of the trail. And you can see the trail there. It's very well maintained. One of the most popular trails in Washington. We saw quite a few people that day on it. Okay. And there's Pat again and George. And I'm not sure who's in front there. But they're crossing a dry creek bed there. And at this point, the trail is still basically flat, so it's a good warm-up. All right, next. Okay, this is where you get kind of a peek at what's to come. That's Ives Peak in the background. You can see the snow, which is there probably most of the summer. And it just makes you want to go faster to get up to there. You know, the scenery is going to be quite beautiful. Okay? And here's another shot of the trail, and I'm not sure who that is. Do you know, Dory? Oh, okay. I guess I could look at my trip notes here. Okay. Okay, next. Oh, these are the tree bowls. B-O-W-S. Okay, next. Here's a dry creek bed, a rocky creek bed. There's probably quite a bit of water coming down through in the spring from the snow melt off, but being that it was August, most of the creeks were pretty dry. Really good water though. I wouldn't have a problem drinking out of any of those creeks. Next. And here I am, and a guest crossing that same creek bed. Next. Now we just ghosted her. So I'm not sure how that happened, but we'll catch up with her later on. Next. And here's a stock detour. We're getting close to what they call Goat Creek, which is the main creek in the area. I guess the horses take one way and the hikers go another way. I never did see what the horse crossing looked like. We crossed on a very nice bridge. Okay. Here's Tadia and Pat Reichel on the bridge that crosses Goat Creek. And there's, what's her name? Jackie, one of our newest members at the time. She's looking like she's having a good time. Okay, and here's Goat Creek. Lots of water coming down it. It comes out of Goat Lake, which is 3 or 4 miles up the valley, and you'll see how much snow is up there still, but it's quite nice down here. Still pretty good temperatures, not hot yet. Okay. Here's the bridge. It's me, my midsection is sticking out. Didn't have a chance to suck it in. They caught me by surprise in that picture. And that's Dory in the middle, I believe, right? And Toddy on the right. Now we're getting into kind of the bogs part of the trail. We're getting a little bit out of the trees, and it looks very lush. And I would think there would be elk in there, going for all the hikers. But it's skunk cabbage and just a lush lowlands scenario. Okay, next. Here's a couple of waterfalls that are quite numerous in this area. Okay, and that's Dory. That's Dory. Now you can see the meadow there. We're starting to get into more and more meadows as we go farther, getting a little bit out of the trees. And this is where the climb starts up the hill. Okay, and there's Goat Creek again, I believe. Looking good. Okay. And Dory has agreed to do the flower parts of this.
So this is lupin. It's a lot of lupin up on the hill there. There's lupins. Lupinus, several different species, but lupinus is the genus.
Okay. Now here's Tadia in her happy place. She's in the middle of a little meadow there. As the meadows get bigger and bigger as farther we go. You can still see it's a beautiful day. Okay.
And that's just a picture of the lupin close up. You can see the purple petals and beautiful green leaves. Just a gorgeous plant.
Okay. Now this is on the trail, but it's getting more and more rocky. And 10 years ago I did this hike before I had a hip replacement, and this is all the farther I could make it. So I felt really special on this day that I was pain-free to do that due to that hip replacement. I really recommend it if you're having a lot of pain. Okay?
And this flower is called rose meadowsweet. It's spurious and up in the alpine meadows. It's just huge splotches. Swaths of it going down the valley. It's kind of beautiful. Rose meadowsweet. In paintbrush, this is called Helens. We have a species on that because there's over 200 species of flower plant Indian paintbrush. This is more of the rose meadowsweet. Like I said, there were just like hillsides covered with this beautiful pink, look like a big pink carpet.
These are alpine firs, and as you can see, it's just getting more and more open. Okay.
Now here we have berry grass is a common name. It's Xerophyllum tenets. It's also known as soapgrass or Indian basket grass. And it's prevalent up in these alpine meadows as well, berry grass.
And I don't believe they bloom every year. I read that somewhere. Okay, we have a junction here, and some went right, some went left, but that's why we have radials. And we took the left fork, and that will take you up to Snowgrass Flats eventually, but we're still climbing, still going up the hill. Okay. Okay, there's Mount Adams, obviously. You can see some of the scenery is getting better as we go. We're very close to that mountain in this wilderness. Okay. This is
Some more of berry grass.
okay. Now you can see what I guess that would be the goat rocks in the background, above timberline, and some of the trees are getting kind of yucky looking. But for the most part, it's still very lush and green up there. Okay. Now this is where you reach Snowgrass Flats, they call it, and there's numerous campsites there. We're up there probably 6,000 feet, I would guess. And the signs were really good. They were pretty new. Someone had kept up on that. I guess they don't want you getting lost up there, but there's a three-way trail junction there, and actually we had 3 different groups going 3 different ways. And the way we took, the group I was in, went to the right, which takes you up to the Pacific Crest Trail in about a mile. The route to the straight ahead would take you up to Goat Lake, I believe. And then there's a route to the left which took you down to some camping spots, and I think that goes sort of somewhere. There's old trails, there's new trails. It's kind of confusing once you get up there. But once again, that's why we have the 2-way radios. Okay.
This is another common flower up here, kind of called Old Man's Beard or Western Passiflower. The scientific name is Anemone occidentalis, and they're just cute. Kind of ruffle up their hair, and they're really pretty in the meadows.
Okay.
More Indian paintbrush, and this one was so vivid red. And there was a lot of it up in the higher elevations, up above 6,000 feet.
Look at the colors there, I think. You can't beat those.
So vivid red, isn't it? That's an avalanche lily, Erythronium montanum. It's a really, really hardy lily, but look how delicate it looks. And there were several of these avalanche lilies for us to enjoy.
Now you can see how expansive the meadows are becoming. Like I say, the farther you go, the better the scenery gets, and that's looking at what we were walking through for most of the way now. The trail seems to slack off a little bit. But, okay, here we have Mount Adams again, the trees. Okay, and here we have Dory again. Okay, this is the trail going up to the Pacific Crest Trail, and it looks pretty rocky there. But we will soon be getting out of the trees. But you can see how blue the sky is still. It's just a beautiful day. Okay. Here's that same trail, only a little bit farther up it. Okay, now you're looking at what is actually the Goat Rocks. And the peak to the right, I believe, is Ives Peak. Now there'll be a peak to the left called Old Snowy, and but that's where the trail eventually goes, and I believe we're just about to the Pacific Crest Trail here. Okay, this is where the Crest Trail, the junction with the trail we're on, is, and that's Mount Adams in the background. But once again, you can see how big the meadows are now, and that's our namesake mountain, Mount St. Helens. Okay. Now look at that scenery there. This is why we hike, in my opinion. You can't beat this. Okay, now here is what I believe is the Dana. It used to be a shelter, and there's a story that goes with that. It's called the Dana Yelverton Shelter. It's at 77,000 feet, and it was named after a young lady who was killed up there in a snowstorm. And there were 24 teens from the Bellevue Presbyterian Church on a Cascade Trail hike in August of 1962, and they were caught in a sudden snowstorm and barely made it out alive. And Dana, unfortunately, died of hypothermia, so they built a shelter there, and for that purpose, to get out of the bad weather. And that just goes to show that you got to be prepared for any condition. I mean, even though the weather normally is like it is there, once you get going and the weather changes quickly, that's what happens. We've all we've all been in that situation, and anyone who's ever hiked has been in a situation where you start out on a sunny day and it turns south on you, and you really need to be prepared for that. Back in those days, they probably had jeans on. I don't think they had the equipment that we have now. So, and they could have turned back, but they kept pressing onwards because they'd been hiking for days. They wanted to get up to the Goat Rocks because that was the highest part of the trail. Well, hindsight's not worth much, I guess. But anyway, that's what's left of the shelter. I believe the snow made it collapse. Okay, now we're looking at Hawkeye Point there, that mountain in the background. And just to the right of it is Goat Lake, which is kind of a camping area up there. Once again, look at the meadows there. I mean, it's just incredible. Okay, this is called Split Rock for obvious reasons. And it's a striated glacier rock. Okay. Now there's another picture of the meadows and the mountains in the background. Okay, now this is Old Snowy. We're above the meadows now. We're just in rocks. Most of us didn't make it this far up the trail. A couple of us did. 3 or 4 of us did. We got some good pictures. And you can see the snow there. Okay, there's the horse rider. Get back to that. Okay, Dory. There's those Indian paintbrushes. Adams in the background, and there's a story that goes with volcanoes in this area. The Multnomah Indians had their interpretation of the volcanoes. They said a feud developed between Klickitat Mountain, which is Mount Adams, and Y East Peak, which is Mount Hood, over a beautiful squaw mountain, which is St. Helens, who had just moved into the neighborhood. She loved Y East, but Klickitat triumphed in a fight, so she had to reside in Klickitat's domain. She refused to bed down with him, however, and after a while his flames of love for her died, and both volcanoes became dormant. Okay. Yeah, it was quite a loss, quite sad. Okay, that cirque there is Goat Lake, and to the left of it is Hawkeye Point, which the trail eventually goes to if you want to go that far. But I believe this is as far as, well, I guess there's one more picture of Goat Lake. Okay, there's Mount Adams and the trail that we came up on. Hard to see, but that's what we walked through. Okay, there's Pat, and I believe, I can't tell who the other guys are, maybe George. They're having lunch there. Lunch break, and that's probably where they turned around. Okay, there's Goat Lake. Now, I've been there years ago when it was not quite as much snow, and there's a lot of camping there. But today, and they must have had a lot of snow last winter because normally by now this is thawed out for most of it, but not today. Okay, now we're coming back down the trail. These are one of the many waterfalls. Here's another picture of the waterfalls. Okay. Here we are back at the trailhead. This is almost the end of the hike. And we're all having our refreshments there, and I don't believe it's beer.
Seltzer.
Seltzer, yeah, we're having seltzer. We're all getting ready.
San Pellegrino.
And look at all the smiles. Everybody's happy that they did 13 miles. And now we're all ready for the big, long drive back to Longview. But what a beautiful day it was. And no thunderstorms, and that